Let's first start with the first line's orchestration. The part that we are supposed to orchestrate is very congested and chaotic in regard to its character. Therefore, in order to beautifully play this part, 80% of the orchestra should participate. On the other hand, in the given fracture, the number of the vertical notes is very low. We can assign each of 8 notes into one instrument, but this would be very crappy. Then how to proceed? How to deliver the orchestration of this part in the best quality? For this purpose, we will make use of the very first principle of the orchestration, which is to get more figures from the figure we have. I call this procedure as figure splitting. Since all chords in the first line is similar to each other, it is enough to split the B, D, E sharp, G sharp, C sharp chord for an illustration. In accordance with, let's first perceive the B, D, E sharp, G sharp, C sharp chord as an unpitched figure. This is a quarter note figure. In the splitting phase, we will get new equal figures from the quarter figure we have now. The first figure that is as equal with quarter note figure is 8th note triplet with res. Second, 8th note triplet. Third, 2 16ths and 1 8th notes. Fourth, 4 16th notes. Fifth, 16th note quintuplet. Sixth, quarter note. Of course, one could get more figures. Nevertheless, these many figures are enough for the first line in this fracture. As we trace, we got 6 equivalent figures from a quarter note. Let's move on to the second step. The second step is the transforming. In this phase, we will add note pitch to each of these 6 figures and we'll get new figures. In order to clearly see the process, first we spread the B, D, E sharp, G sharp, C sharp chord to the left on horizontal line. We do this to see the notes as an individuals. C sharp, G sharp, E sharp, D, B. As you remember, the first figure is triplet with res. In the transforming phase, we will triple the figure. That is, we will get 3 new figures out of the given figure. For this reason, we will add the note pitch to the figures. Now let's put the first figure on top of these 6 notes. As you see, there are 2 note mold in the figure. Thus, we need only 2 notes. As an example of our figure, we may use C sharp, G sharp notes. Thereafter, the figure gets its own pitch. First triplet is C sharp, G sharp. Let's move to the second sample. To create the second sample, we will utilize chain method. Let's first talk about what's chain. In the chain method, we must have an overlapping note shares both chains. We call these figures constructed with this rule a chained figure. As you may notice, in our figure G sharp is the overlapping note. Therefore, the sample we make using chain rule should be G sharp, E sharp. Let's add one more sample. To get the third sample, we use chain rule on E sharp, D notes and get E sharp, D triplet. Consequently, we are done with the first figure. Before we delve into partitioning, I want to go through what we have done so far. In the first step, we got 6 figures from one figure. Then we choose one figure from those 6 figures and create 3 more from it. It is worth to mention that we tripled one of the 6 figures. Once we add the figures, there will be more material for the orchestra performers. Let's move on to the third step. The third step is partitioning. In this step, we will split these 3 figures between instruments. I want to draw your attention to a point. Usually in a classical orchestration, chained figures from the same pattern are partitioned between the same timbral instruments. String section, woodwind section, brass section, percussion section. This way you can preserve the timbral balance. In general, there is no standard rules in orchestration since it is a matter of taste. However, there are some tastes and verified textures that works well and they are turned to be rules. And when we deviate from these well-known textures, it is very challenging to find a pleasant piece of work. Nevertheless, there is no harm to try. For example, let's split up this figure between oboe, vibraphone and violas. In my opinion, it doesn't sound appealing, in terms of both pleasure and quality. This way one of the instruments dominates others. Hence it breaks general unit sounding. For sure, if it is the underlying motive, then no problem. Sticking to the timbral balance, we also partition this figure into instruments in strings section. Let's give the C-sharp, G-sharp figure to the first division of the first violins. Let's give the G-sharp, E-sharp figure to the second division of the first violins. Let's give the E-sharp, D figure to the first division of the second violins. It is also possible that one can partition this figure between first violin, second violin and violas. Meanwhile, the timbral balance could still be intact. On the other hand, we had different figures in his mind for the string section, therefore everything remains unchanged. Now let's focus on score. Slow on the top of the notes, indicating that those notes should be played with one bow stroke. If the slurs wasn't indicated in the notes, both C-sharp and the G-sharp would be performed with separate bow strokes. The dynamic mark is mezzo forte. The term leggero under these notes belongs to piano, mezzo piano and mezzo forte. This expression requires light and a delicate performance of given passages. So the partitioning part is done and we finished all 3 steps for the first figure. Let's move on to the second figure.